Welcome to the first official episode of our little podcast here about loneliness. Still thinking about the name, but I'm sure by the time that these are out, I'll have already thought of a name, so insert name here. But I figured that for my first bout of talking about loneliness, I was going to go off the cuff. We'll see if that works. Maybe next time I'll be writing notes down because note taking is usually my forte. But yeah, I think my first episode being on my wee lonesome is appropriate. I've also gotten the COVID after 2.5 years of avoiding the virus. I have finally gotten it. She got me. So I am dealing with the COVID right now. I'm getting through it very, very well. So there's truly no need to worry or actually be concerned for the fact I'm talking. Today I want to say is today is day 4, I think, of my quarantine. And I feel like I'm honestly past it. I think I'm past the actual virus. The first 2 days were pretty rough. And then I just feel very tired and I get a little dizzy. So I've heard that is pretty typical of this weird strain. But so I'm already living by myself right now with my dog. Because I think, as I said in the first little trailer episode, is that my husband, Gabe, is currently on tour with the musical Moulin Rouge, and I am living on my own in our beautiful home, and I was like a little afraid to say that, but at the same time, that's what this whole podcast is about. So, so I live by myself, and I have a ferocious pit bull, so don't even try. But, so it's just me and my dog, and luckily my in-laws are not too far from me, and my family does come up and visit from time to time. But I'm a little far away. I'm a little bit in the suburbs, so I'm a little further away from New York City and what I feel like is community, not technically distance-wise, but I think like mentally I feel further away, and I think people feel like I'm further away from them than I actually am. So, the meeting of the minds is much more difficult now, to be fair. Not that a couple of friends have come out to visit me in my home. Some people have traveled all the way from Brooklyn, so I very much appreciate that. It's hard out here, it's hard to live on your own, and to be going through COVID by yourself is not fun. I'm in the stage now of my mind is really playing games with me, much more so than it normally does. I am a person that, I gotta be honest with you, I don't think my therapist has quite given me a diagnosis. I would love to talk to her about that this week. Yeah, I haven't quite gotten a diagnosis, but I know I have depression, and I know I have anxiety, and I know I have ADHD. They are the trifecta of my life, and that's just me with my unprofessional diagnosis of myself. But I live with my brain every single day, so I think I know one or two things about it. So dealing with those mental kind of imbalances already, plus COVID is a trip. I found myself crying a lot today. And we'll get into this, I think, in future episodes, but I feel like a lot of my crying comes from a place of not only living by myself, but also dealing with life by myself while my partner is far away, and still trying to maintain that connection as if they're not that far away. So COVID, I will say, to end on my COVID spiel, I felt very taken care of despite being all by myself. I've had send me food, send me cards, drop off dog food. My in-laws, who have just had COVID themselves, just came over and spent some time with me and made me dinner. So, I am very fortunate in that I am alone, but at the same time, I'm being very well taken care of. And I will say, like, 3+ months that I've been on my own, it does feel like the most I've been taken care of, even though I've been by myself, which is bizarre because technically nobody, aside from tonight, nobody has been in my vicinity, but I feel more taken care of and more supported this week than I have in a while. And that's not a shame on anybody, but it's just like not that I need this much support all the time. When people know I actually have something that is hindering me from living a normal life, like a virus, it's like a call for help. Without a call for help, it's like just kind of like, maybe if I ask for help more, more people will be there. Or maybe if I'm more direct with how I need help, how I need support, those things will come to me more. So a little bit about Gabe's and my story. We have been long distance for a lot of our relationship. We've been married for almost 5 years. 5 years come October. And we've been together, I want to say this will be year 12 or 13. Keep sound off in the wherever you're listening from. I'm bad with numbers, but yes, I will never be one of those wives in the movies that's like, you forgot our wedding anniversary or how many years we've been married, because Lord knows I do not remember most of the time. When we first started dating, we were best friends first for like 2 years. We were very good friends in college. And then we started we started hooking up right when we were doing a show. Then we were like, wow, I guess this is becoming more of a thing and I don't want this to end. And we got together right before I went abroad to Italy. And this was kind of before FaceTime. It was really like Skype was the only video app at the time, and it wasn't. We didn't even really know what apps were. Like, okay, y'all, I'm turning 33 again. What's my age again? Turning 33 in like less than a month. But that's kind of how quickly things have changed in technology. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that, but the iPhone, like 1 came out when I was in college. So like apps were not really a thing. So we used Skype. Skype was all it was. And I want to say like Facebook Messenger had like a video messenger kind of thing back and forth. The first real part of our relationship, quote unquote, was when I was away. And I still have some of those old messages and videos, and it's very sweet how we would like speak to each other and say how much we missed each other. And then I came home, and Gabe had already graduated, so I was in school still. So we were still pretty long distance, only saw each other on the weekends. And then it was, what was after that? Then it was, then he got his first cruise ship contract. We worked for Carnival Cruise Lines, and I want to do a whole episode on cruise ships and loneliness in the future, so stay tuned to that. Any of my cruise ship friends that have some things to say, or if you have anything to say, maybe we'll make a little dial-in or a message thing that we can put in. So he got his first cruise ship contract while I was still in school, and that was very lonely because I was experiencing all the special things of ending college and all of the big events, and I was doing it on my own. And then he was doing cruise ships while I was doing a couple of children's theater tours, national theater tours, for a couple of years. So we were kind of ships in the night. We would see each other for maybe a weekend or a week here or two if I would go on and see him on a cruise ship. And then it was just kind of back and forth like that for a long time, always staying together, never taking a break. Oh, and then we had a little bit of time where we were in the same place at the same time. And that's kind of a blur. I don't really remember that all that well because I think we were both working and auditioning and all that. And then he went on some national tours while I was home, trying to book national tours, but they weren't happening. And then I moved to New York. And so I was living in New York with a roommate, and that was a very lonely time as well. And then somehow the universe aligned for us, and we booked a cruise ship together. And then we did that for 4 years. 4 years of constantly being together. We went through this time of being thousands and thousands of miles away from each other. And luckily, technology was evolving with us so that we would have more ways of talking to each other and seeing each other and communicating. So that was great. And then we were together. So that was just like, it was like everything had finally come together. And then that lifestyle became pretty tough. As I said, we'll talk about it in another episode. So we decided to quote unquote retire. We retired in May of 2019. And yes, if you are calculating correctly, that is before the world truly, truly changed. And so we finally got our first place together, and we were just starting our what we call the land life. And then the pandemic hit, and we kind of felt like we were going back to, at least for me, I can speak for myself only in that. I really was like, wow, it's kind of like we're back on ships again. So I was like, but we've got an entire apartment, we have a dog, and we've got sunshine. It's not just four walls and the sound of the ocean smacking the side of the ship, but this is doable. We can do this. So like the added anxieties of the world, like we got this. And, and before that we got married. Well, all that fun stuff. But then the pandemic happened, and in the span of the pandemic, a lot of other things occurred. A lot of big life events, a lot of scary life events happened that really just changed us as a couple, changed us as individuals. But always we were just in each other's proximity constantly. And then some of the biggest news that Gabe got was last July when we found out that he booked a Moulin Rouge National Tour. And so we had 6 months of kind of mentally prepping for this time. Now, again, a lot of things happened in between those 6 months, but, I kind of wasn't able to prepare myself for what this would be like. And it's nothing, well, is it kind of like what I expected? Maybe. I kind of expected when he left, when he went on tour, to kind of go back to what it was like when he went on cruise ships. But the blessing that we had when Gabe went on cruise ships is that I had a routine. I was in school. I had classes. I had I had friends literally around me all the time. Like, I lived with friends. I would go to class with friends. I would see friends just on my way to class. I would drink with friends. I would be wild with friends at night, giggle and talk till all hours of the night. So yes, I was lonely and I was sad without Gabe, and it was really, really hard because even in college, it was hard to have an identity outside of your relationship. And I felt like I was reforming that in my senior year of college. But this feeling now is nothing like that. And I think for me, a huge part of that is routine. Since the pandemic hit, I haven't been able to spell the word routine, let alone have one and stick to one. It's been very difficult for me. Everything feels like it's in flux. I'm sure I'm not alone in that space. And I think that might be the most difficult thing about this season of my life. And it's really hard. I find myself, I feel like I'm wandering in my life. And that's really hard to admit. And I'm getting fucking vulnerable with y'all. Because I feel like these are what I'm saying right now into the microphone is I feel like these are the conversations I have with myself on my walks with my dog. And I'm like, God, if only I could just have someone to talk back. To just get what I'm talking about. And I do sometimes when my friends make ample space for me to lay this down. And when Gabe has the space to be able to lay it down, but it's I don't want every conversation I have to be about loneliness. I don't. I want to find that joy again. And I think that's what I'm having a hard time in my life finding is joy without Gabe next to me. What is joy with Emily on her own? I don't know. I haven't really found it yet. I'm searching for purpose again. And honestly, who knows? Maybe this podcast can be that. Maybe that can give me a little bit of purpose of I was saying this. I need a little sip of water. I do have COVID, so jump off. I'm a little parched. I was saying this to my therapist that like I'm struggling with purpose. And that's what loneliness is illuminating for me. It's asking me, what is your purpose? And I don't know. Because what I've always thought is my purpose isn't happening. Like the callbacks aren't happening right now. I'm still in quite a drought. And I think a lot of us are. If you're in the performing world, I think there's far more of us that are not in this abundant season of our lives of booking show after show after show. There's loneliness in that. But there's just this pit of loneliness right now. And it hurts. It really hurts. It's like this, it's like a constant dull headache that sometimes becomes like a searing migraine. It's like it never goes away. And sometimes you can forget about it. You can drink all those iced coffees to just drown it out for a little while. But it's always there. And I don't think it's to the level of grief, of what grief is for people. Because grief is a whole different level. And I'd love to talk about that too. I just know that at least loneliness for me regarding my husband and actually being alone, it feels like it never gets better. It does get better because there are days where like I kind of revel in it, but like I haven't found my solitude yet. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between loneliness and solitude. There's a difference between being alone and solitude. I think those are three different things. I think being alone is nice, and I think that is a shortened amount of time. I think that kind of has like a very acute timeline, if that makes sense. Solitude sounds romantic, It sounds like that jazz song. It sounds like self-care. It sounds like bubble baths and long walks and a romantic filter over top of it. That's what solitude sounds like. But loneliness is not that for me. It sucks. I wish my partner was with me, But it's also like I am so excited every single time that I see him on that stage. So I also don't want him here because I want him doing that. And I know for us, I think Gabe will absolutely be on an episode where we talk about this and how we both experience loneliness. But, it's different. It's different if I think it would be different for me if my life was in a motion right now that didn't feel so stuck. Personally, I feel very stuck in so many areas. And that's a very real and vulnerable thing to say. But yes, I feel very stuck. I feel so stuck. And today, my loneliness was telling that story to me. My loneliness was saying, you feel stuck and you don't know how to get out of it. And maybe that's the COVID talking. It probably is a big part of it. And I also feel extra lonely right now with COVID because it's preventing me from saying goodbye to one of my best friends who's also going on tour. So I won't be able to say goodbye to her in the way I wanted to. Fuck you, COVID. Fuck you. So living alone is lonely. I'm past the point of being afraid of every sound that I hear because luckily my dog is kind of my first line of defense. So I look forward to finding solitude. I look forward to those Instagram reels and TikToks of being that girl, but like that morning actually being my reality of like, yeah, that's how it feels now. And I don't know if I'll ever get there. Gabe's tour is a year. And so I don't know. Does that mean I have a year to perfect being lonely? That's a challenge. Does anyone want to perfect being lonely? Not me. I like being around people. I also do like my alone time. I did. Oh God, I loved my alone time before Gabe went on tour. But like, I kind of like hate it now. My in-laws only left like 20 minutes ago and I'm already like, well, now what? I guess I'll record a podcast. And that happens every time somebody leaves. If I have a friend over or, if I have a friend over for dinner or coffee or something like that, or I meet up with someone in the city, it's like that immediate feeling of that person's not there now comes in so quick, where that wouldn't happen before. I'd miss my friends, I'd miss people, especially if I didn't see them for a long time. But that immediate ping of now you're alone, that sets in almost immediately when I come inside my house. And I hate that, because I love my home, and I don't want my home to be like a symbol of loneliness, but it kind of is right now. I don't know. Is this bumming everyone out? But it feels good to talk about it. It feels good to not just say it to my dog. It feels good not just to say it to my dog on a walk into a microphone, which might meet your ears. And it might help you feel less alone. And if that's my purpose today, then I'm good with that. I don't know kind of what else to say without like going in circles. But I think that's where I'm at today. Today I have felt lonely, especially through this COVID fog, which I really hope I'm past, by the way. I feel better every day, so I'm hoping that this just continues and that it wasn't a fluke. But my dear friend Andrew gave me this question, asked me this at brunch one day when it's pretty early after Gabe first left on tour. I didn't know how to answer it then, and I think it's because the answer changes all the time. And I don't know, when someone asks me an introspective question, I kind of immediately think it has to be a negative answer, but I don't think it always has to. The question he asked, and I feel like he said, I'm not sure where he got this question from, but I told my therapist that question, and she went, "Oh, that's a good question." So, the question is, what story is your loneliness telling you? And today, I think my loneliness is trying to tell me that I'm valid in how I feel stuck, but that I have to believe that I won't always feel stuck. That's the story of getting unstuck. So ask yourself, what is your loneliness telling you today? What story is loneliness telling you today? I hope you find the answers. I hope that this little tale of mine brought some comfort to you. What's the point of trying to cover something up with humor right now? There's no point to it. I'm trying to think of a quirky way to end this, but maybe that's just the way things will end, is that, yeah, as is life. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe and tell all your lonely friends. There we go. There's some humor about the podcast, and I would really appreciate it if you could rate it and make a little comment wherever you listen to your podcasts. I don't know who knows where this is up at this point. Give the podcast some love and share it with your friends, and tell anyone who listens to podcasts or people who don't listen to podcasts about it, because everybody's lonely, at least from time to time, and if they say they're not, they're lying. But thank you so much, my friends. I love you. And I'll talk to you next time. See ya.